I guess. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Frisco Connect. Okay, we're glad you're here. I want to thank all of you who've been supporting us throughout the years. Judge Bugbee, Bill Richardson, Gary Stillman, Rob Farish, and this guy over here, Pete Hernandez. Thank you. And Trevor Houston. No, Houston. For those of you who may have tuned in online, thank you for being with us. We've got a lot of important information, updates, changes, and things that are happening. Of course, change is a constant, right? That's an oxymoron, right? Okay. So anyway, we're meeting today and we're meeting next week on the 15th, and that will be, and I'm going to repeat this several times throughout the session today so that everybody's made aware. Please pass the word along. November 15th, the third Tuesday in November, is our last meeting of November. It's also going to be the last meeting of the year. We are meeting together with our support people at Stonebriar and some of the other people who've been an integral part of this for the past couple of years. And we're going to do some retooling or some re-engineering. Trevor uses the word reset, but I really, that word just gives me the heebie-jeebies because it's used by a certain person over in Europe, and I just, yeah. Anyway, our next regular meeting will be Tuesday the 15th, and that'll be it for 2022. So I'm repeating that, so if anybody watches the video online, they can, and they missed that, they can rewind and listen to it again because we want everybody to be aware of what's going on. So Frisco Connect, we're in our 14th year, I believe, and nobody keeps a real accurate count, but I think we're somewhere around 13, 14 years old. And we're here for each other. As Philippians 2:4 says, let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others, which is from the scriptures, and it's what it's saying is pay it forward, right? Yep. Help one another. And that, in my life experience, that always comes back to you. You know, you reap what you sow, so helping one another really, really pays off in a lot of different ways. So, let me see if I can, okay. Those of you here, if you're new, we are cell phone friendly. We hope you get a call you've been waiting for, but if you do get a call, you can go outside this room and have a semi-private conversation. It's fairly quiet out there, and we won't be creating a lot of background noise that your caller can hear. We just ask that you put your cell phones on vibrate or silent or visual ring so that we don't get those interruptions as we go forward. Okay, Wi-Fi is available if you're using a Wi-Fi tablet, laptop, whatever here. SCC_public is the channel. It is not protected, but it's a pretty robust channel. If you're having any problems with your Wi-Fi, just let myself or Brandon know, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, Friday mornings we have another meeting to support those in transition or looking for employment. It's called Reach Up, Reach Out, talking about reaching one hand up to God, one hand out to each other. And it's online only. The information is on this slide. It's a Zoom meeting. The meeting ID and the password are there. It's also on the Stonebriar Community Church website, which I'll talk about in a minute. So the Friday meeting is to encourage us. Frisco Connect addresses the logistical, the tactical, the best practices, the how-tos on the different aspects of looking for employment and how to put your plan together, an effective campaign to get to your next best position. But Friday mornings, Pastor Steve Fisher, who is our model, our support pastor here, he's the pastor of Care Ministries. He leads that. He does opens with a short devotional. It's not a Bible study or a sermon or anything. It's just something to anchor us in the wonderful Word of God, that the God who loves us and cares for us. And so then we go around to everybody on the call and find out, ask them to share what's going on in their search for employment or anything that's dragging them down and just zapping or draining their energy and their enthusiasm. And we pray for each one on the call as we go around right there. So it runs from 7 a.m. until 8:30 p.m. on Friday mornings, and we invite anybody who wishes to just put in that Zoom meeting and password and join us at 7 o'clock on Friday mornings. Additional resources. We have groups on Facebook. It's called the Frisco Connect Job Search Network Group, and we have a group on LinkedIn, Frisco Connect Career Networking Group. You can update yourself on what's going on those group sites, on those platforms. And again, I've got the reach out reminder down at the bottom. So on the LinkedIn group, we've got over 2,700 members. Many of them are alumni who have attended Frisco Connect while in the search for employment. It's a good way to connect to people. You've got a commonality where you can introduce yourself to them individually. Hey, I saw that you were a member of the Frisco Connect group on LinkedIn, and you can enhance your connections that way, okay? So if you want to look at any of the things I just talked about, you can go to stonebriar.org/career-transition, and you can look us up on careerdfw.org. Excuse me. And we've got information on what's going on. I'm going to update Jeff Morris on our change of schedule for the rest of the year so that he's got that in careerdfw.org and careerusa.org so that everybody gets the same information. Okay, let me back up a minute. I think that's everything I want to talk about. I'm going to hand it over to Foster here, but first, I'm a little scattered this morning, so please forgive me. I'd like to just take a moment to open us up in a word of prayer. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind joining me. Heavenly Father, we are grateful for all that you provide. Yes, we have problems. There are people here at Frisco Connect, online or in person, who've got struggles, monetary, financial struggles, maybe health struggles, relationship struggles, whatever it may be. But help us to understand that those challenges are to help us grow stronger, not to punish us, for you are a loving God. So we hand this time over to you, and we ask you to bless it and make it productive in getting the information to everybody who's watching this or is in attendance here, whatever they need, that they may walk away with encouragement and additional information that will help them towards landing their next position, that it be a position that they want, that uses the talents and skills you've given them. And so we place this all in your hands, and thank you for providing the technology and the environment we have to hold these meetings over the past years and today, and we're grateful for that. In the name of Jesus our Lord, amen. So, Foster, you ready?
Yes.
After you get your script from Gary?
Gary's keeping me up to speed.
Okay.
Is this thing working?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, everybody. John, thanks.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much. No Frisco Connect without John.
Or without Foster.
This guy here is our
Or Bill
fearless
Richardson.
leader, or Bill Richardson, or yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Thank you, guys. Look back there in the corner. Oh my goodness, Bill Richardson with no hat. Okay, guys. My name is Foster Williams. I am a longtime recruiter. I'm not going to say how long, because then you guys know why I got gray hair. When it grows out, it's gray. So what we're here to do, Frisco Connect, guys, is a part of a big network that started here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Now it has gotten all across the nation. I know we got a contingent of you got Marty's guys up in New York. Hey, I know you guys are watching. Hopefully you're there watching. Today's going to be real good because we are going to be talking about a component of job search that you guys really, really, really need to hone in on, and that's going to be the interview. We send our resumes in, and, you know, they want to talk to us. What do we do in that interview? What kind of thought processes should we have in that interview? So that is what we're going to talk about today. The whole network, guys, as I started to talk about in the very beginning, is here to get you guys the right information, connect you to the right people that can help you get the right career opportunity, not just another job, but the right opportunity, guys. Okay? So, without further ado, my first job up here, morning Sharon. My first job up here is to introduce you guys to people in the network that God has called, beside myself and John, to get out and help. And so let me see who I can pick on first. Where'd Rob go? Let's start with Rob this morning. I want to introduce you guys to Rob Farish. He is with Edward Jones, and I'm going to let Rob tell you the rest.
All right, thank you, Foster.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm Rob Farish. I'm a financial advisor at Edward Jones, but like a lot of y'all, I was right here several years ago trying to figure out where I'm going to be in my next position. I was in IT for many years, had a successful career there, but just kind of got burned out and was looking for something different to do. I found, in 2016, officially became an IT refugee and decided I was going to do something different, and found a lot of help through this. Even before that, I with this group, got some support for changing positions in IT, but then I completely changed careers and decided to go into financial services, which is a great area if anyone's interested in, you know, changing maybe the path you're on right now and looking at financial services. There's a lot of good opportunities there. We'll hear from, I think Trevor's going to speak a little later about New York Life as well and all the positions that are available there. At Edward Jones, we have a lot of positions available in financial services at our home office in St. Louis, Missouri, but also in Tempe, Arizona. But what I found is that after post-COVID, we have a lot of remote positions available now as well that we didn't have before. So I found a lot of people in the group here have found positions that they're interested in at that are remote you can do from here that are with our Edward Jones offices there. So if you go to edwardjones.com/careers, you can find all those positions are available. Here locally, we have several openings right now for financial advisors and what we call branch office administrators. Financial advisors, like with my role, are basically working with clients, sit down with them, understand what's important to you, what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, put together a plan for you, make sure you're on track, have a customized strategy, all those kinds of things that, and I tell people all the time are worried about, well, I'm kind of interested in maybe going financial services, but I've never done anything like that before. Jones has a great transition program if you are completely changing directions. Of course, you have to have some aptitudes in that area, and if you're interested in that, I can sit down with you and find out, is this a good fit for you? Is something that would be a good change for you and help you understand that? But Jones will help you through the transition period, get trained, and I tell clients all the time, my job is not to be an expert at picking stocks and mutual funds and different types of investments and things like that. My job is to be an expert on my clients that I'm working with, to understand them, know them and their families, what they're trying to accomplish. And then I have what I call my 100 acres of nerds in St. Louis, which is all of our industry analysts that they're the ones that we don't let them talk to the public, but they are the ones that go and crunch all the numbers and do all the research, look at the books of these companies, and create kind of short lists for us that we can then leverage with what we know about our clients and the relationship we have with our clients to do that. I mean, at the same time, you're still going to be a licensed stockbroker, financial advisor, insurance agent, all those things, but you're really focused on helping the clients. And that's what I love about the job is that at the end of the day, I'm just helping people. I'm educating people. Feel good about what I do at the end of the day. Branch office administrator is kind of the support person that we use in each of our branch offices. They help with a lot of the administrative things, but they partner with us as financial advisors to help us deal with all the things we do with the clients, the paperwork, keeping up with them, contacts, things like that. So it's a lot more than a lot of people think it's just like an admin, secretary type position. It's much more than that. It's a great career path if you're interested in that or have some experience in that area. We have openings available here in this area. And if the positions that are here locally, I can guarantee I can get you in touch with somebody on our recruiting team to talk to you and work with that. But you're welcome to come talk to me first and see, understand a little bit more about the job and what it might be a good fit for you there. If you're not interested in working at Edward Jones or in financial services, connect up with me still because, like I said, my career was over 20 years before I did this in IT. Worked with a lot of different companies, not all IT companies, but I have a lot of connections, and I love networking with people here and just understanding what you're trying to look for, but also helping you with all the different resources that are available, some of the things we're going to be talking about today. But the main thing is just who you know, as we'll talk about here today, I'm sure. So you got to have that network. You got to have some connections in order to get into most of these jobs. You can't just go and blindly apply anymore. It's really hard to get a job that way. So feel free to connect up with me on LinkedIn. You'll find me out there at Rob Farish on LinkedIn at Edward Jones. Reach out to me on there or any way you can get a hold of me, and love to talk to you and see how we can connect, see what connections I can help you with. That's all I got for today, and I will turn it back over to Foster.
Thanks, Rob. I got excited today, guys, because usually we're here from Bob Ernst, but we get a chance to hear from Rob this morning. Those guys are two peas in a pod, same company, same operation. So I would normally introduce you guys to Pete Hernandez at this point, but Pete is going to be on our panel today, so we're going to have plenty of time to talk to Pete. I will be introducing him a little bit later on when we get the panel started. So Foster, what are you talking about? So today we're going to have a panel of experts. We're going to shoot questions. We're going to talk about interview questions. We're going to talk about the informational interview. We're going to talk about anything that has something to do with interviewing. Today it's going to be, I'm glad we're on YouTube and it's getting taped and you guys can go check it out. All of your friends Jessica, I don't want to forget you, Bryce, Charlie, you guys out in Phoenix. Hello, I didn't say hi the first time. So it's a good show, guys, to go back later on YouTube and pull up Frisco Connect and check out today's event because there's going to be a lot of good information that's going to be given. Okay, now I want to introduce you guys to someone else, and that person is Judge. Trevor would be there. Trevor's going to be on the poll too, so I'm going to introduce Trevor later on as well. But Judge, we get to go to you. Normally, guys, today we had to take a little shift. Walt Glass was going to be with us this morning, and he got sick. So you guys pray for Walt to get better. He's fine. I talked to him. He's a little stuffed up, and no COVID. No COVID. So. He'll be with us probably. He might be with us on the 15th to continue what we're going to talk about today. Today is prime real estate today. But before we get there, we're going to talk to Judge. He's going to tell us about the job report.
You got it.
All right.
All right, good morning. The job report is our digital interactive newsletter that goes out the Monday prior to a Frisco Connect event. So it went out yesterday. If you did not get it or if you would like to subscribe, just send an email to the job report FC for Frisco Connect at gmail.com. Once I receive that, and again, in the subject line, just put job report, and I know exactly what you want. Once I get that, I will add you to the distribution list and then send you yesterday's report. Now, the beauty of this report is trying to find your next job is overwhelming. There's just so much going on. And what this report gives you is all of the information about other local networking groups. It gives you their link, not LinkedIn, but their Zoom address or the address of where the meeting's taking place, and a little bit about the meeting. Also in there, you'll have all of the ongoing and active career fairs that are going on in the area. And last but not least, there'll be a list of all the open and active jobs that some of our business partners have provided for us that are trying to fill positions. So normally what we do is we give you, like the one that went out yesterday, we will give you 2 weeks worth of information because on the 15th we'll be back in this room. So what I'll have to do is I'm going to make an adjustment to the next job report that will go out on the 14th, and it will cover the 14th through the end of the year, which we've never done before, but it'll be a unique animal. So if there's things going on in December, that will be in the next job report. So again, subscribe. If you ever get to the point where you don't want the publication anymore, there's a simple unsubscribe button, and it will automatically take you off the list. But I hope this will help you just be able to look at this one document and give you all the information that you might need to help you find your next job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, sir. Guys, in this network, we're always talking about this network. There are just tons of people that give and have different things that they've experienced in their careers that they share, contacts, all sorts of things. That is the dynamic of this network and why this network has grown in the respect that it has. Okay, so let's see. I think we met everybody, and let's take a little break. Bathroom break, coffee break, Coke break, water break, break. We'll take about 5 minutes, and then we will be back, and we'll be talking about networking. We'll be talking about interviewing today, you guys. So stay tuned, and thank you guys for tuning in other states.
Okay. Well, you all take your break. I'm going to talk to the people online. If you're watching on YouTube, please spread the word that we have a library. Since we started meeting back up again in April of this year, 2022, we've been live streaming these, and there's 1 or 2 sessions where we had some technical issues where we couldn't do it. But we've been recording these with our guest speakers who cover a lot of different topics. And so to get to that, the channel on YouTube is Stonebriar Events. Okay, Stonebriar, that's Stonebriar Events. And then when you get to that, across the top you'll see various categories. Click on playlists. And when you click on playlists, you'll see a whole library of the sessions we've held in the past. Now, each of those sessions is not necessarily titled, but there's a lot of different topics that are covered. And the wonderful thing about having those recordings is you can fast forward. We do the first 45 minutes or so, sometimes a little longer. We do our standard agenda, which is introducing people who support this ministry, like you just heard from Judge Bugbee and whatnot. And so you can fast forward into that, and then our major speaker will occur sometime 45 minutes into the meeting or not. And the great thing about that is they usually have slides that are presented in the video, and you can jot down your notes, and if you miss something, you can back up and review it. That's the great thing about the video part. So we encourage you to go ahead and do that. And that's basically what I wanted to say. But I also wanted to reiterate for those of you watching this after the fact on the recording that we have been meeting on the first and third Tuesdays of every month, and we will meet again for the last time this year on Tuesday, November 15th, here at Stonebriar Community Church. We really encourage you to come out. A lot of people haven't been coming to the networking meetings in the Metroplex lately. Attendance is down, although I understand from Foster that South Lake Focus Group is getting back to a little more robust attendance like they have in the past. But Jeff Morris's group on Friday and some of the other groups, the in-person attendance is really down. And I struggle to understand that, except for the fact that I know we've been bludgeoned to death to stay safe by staying isolated with this whole COVID thing. But building relationships and networking is really tough to do on the video platform. I mean, you can see the person's face, you can do a little bit of chat on Zoom or whatever platform the meetings are that you're attending virtually, but meeting people in person, having a cup of coffee, shaking their hand is vitally important towards getting a relationship off the ground. You need to spend time with people. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, it needs to be quality time. And I think we'll address some of that when we talk about interviewing and informational interviewing. I hope we covered that topic this morning. Because I believe that informational interviewing is key and not enough of us do enough of it. So that's just my personal preference. So anyway, I just wanted to interject some of that information to make sure it gets passed around, and I'm going to shut up now. To use your famous quote, I'm going to shut up now.
Want to shut up? All right, so I'll get out here. Boy, that was a quick break, wasn't it? Gee, is this thing working? Okay, can you guys? Good. I got to hold it up a little bit closer to the big mouthpiece that God gave me here. So I want to invite our panelists up now. We're going to have Sharon Luckich Adams now. Sharon Adams. I got to get used to that Adams. We just got that about a month ago. Yeah. Sharon is a principal at one of the more powerful companies that we have here. It is called the Thomas Edwards Group. You guys, we talk about it all the time. That is Sharon right there. And she has been around recruiting and all that kind of stuff for a long time, like myself. I want to get Pete Hernandez. There's Pete. He's getting a mic over there. Join us. Where's Trevor? There's Trevor right there. We got to have Trevor. I don't even have to introduce you guys to Trevor. You should know Trevor. If you're on LinkedIn, you should know Trevor. Trevor Houston, guys, has been 5 years with us here serving job seekers. And me, Trevor, and Mark are a team, and that's what we do. We try to connect you guys with the biggest and best that we can. And then last but not least, I want to get our own Mez up here with us, and we're just going to talk about some. They're going to talk this morning. So hope you guys got your coffee and everything, and we are going to start.
Can you bring my paper?
I got to set the thing up. I know it's going to go off. Jeez. Mm-hmm.
Hello. How are you?
Brandon, can you see all of us? All right. All right, very classy. Want to thank you guys for lending yourselves and answering God's call to help folks. That's what it's all about. So, guys, I'm going to pose questions. You guys hear me talk all the time. I'm going to try to shut up. Try. Some things, some things are near and dear to my heart. I got to put in my 2 cents on some things. But guys, the first thing we want to do is talk about informational interviewing. That is what John just brought up to you guys. So what is informational interviewing? So guys, to each and every one of you guys, I'd love to hear what informational interview means to you guys and how you do it. Who goes first?
I'll go.
Good, you got the mic right there.
All right. To me, informational interviewing is you reach out to somebody in your network and you say, you know what, I need a contact over at Microsoft, and that's fine. I'll be happy to connect you with somebody at Microsoft, and let's pretend that Sharon is that person. And then you'll reach out to Sharon and ask for a few minutes of her time, whether it's over coffee or the phone or whatever it is, understanding, first of all, that Sharon is employed and she has a full-time job.
Yeah.
So when she responds to you, she may say, I can meet with you at 10 a.m. or I can meet with you at 6 p.m. for half an hour. You have to be respectful of that first and foremost. But then have a group of questions ready about Microsoft that you want to ask Sharon. Things like, what's the culture like there? How long have you been there? What's it like to work for your boss? Whatever questions are important to you about Microsoft itself. But most importantly, you want to keep this brief because you want to ask pointed questions about that. One thing you're not going to do is ask Sharon for a job or ask Sharon to take your resume and give it to somebody. She may offer to do that, and that's wonderful, but your goal is to find out more about Microsoft, what it's like to work there or any other company you want to interview with, and then she'll give you that feedback, and it's for you then to use that feedback. She may connect you with somebody else within the company for you to talk to. So your goal is to just get information from her, again, being respectful of her time, because she does have, beyond the actual working life, she has a personal life and everything else, I presume, right? So anyway, that's my take on it anyway, so who else wants to pipe in here?
Sharon works a lot of hours. We all do, don't we?
So to me, an informational interview is pretty simple. It's success leaves clues. And whenever you're trying to get somewhere in life, it's important to go talk to the people who have already been there, done that. So it's not just necessarily, talking to a hiring manager or a recruiter, but if you want to be, in HR, you need to go talk to the person that's in HR at the company you're wanting to go work for and ask them, like, hey, how did you get your foot in the door? What were the things that you went through? How did you get to where you're at? And figure out, that it'll give you the pathway. When you see what they went through, it'll help you to figure out what you need to do to get your foot in the door as well. So that's what I think about informational interviews. It could literally be anybody within the company that works either in the position that you want or a higher position. You need to find out, get insight, really, is what it is. You're just gaining insight, gaining information on how you can get your foot in the door. And if you do it right, I've even taught a strategy how to turn your informational interviews into episodes. Yeah, that may sound a little outside the box, and it is, but what you're doing is you're featuring that person. Like, imagine if you had a podcast or a show and you said, hey, because here's the deal. To get your foot in the door with that informational interview, a lot of people don't want to give you their time. Like, hey, I want to pick your brain. Like, that's the worst thing. Don't ever say that. I want to pick your brain. I want to, get 15 minutes of your time. People don't want to give you 15 minutes of their time. So what's a way that you can make it to where they actually are excited to give you their time? Well, if you had a show, a podcast, you're maybe writing a book, right? And you're saying, hey, I would like to feature you in my book. I'd like to feature your experience on my podcast, right? Then you can actually record that session, and then you have promotional marketing pieces about that company. So it's just an outside-the-box approach, and it can definitely help you to expedite the process. So, there you go.
I don't really have much to add. That's an interesting take on things. But only thing I would say to add to Pete and Trevor is, oh my God, what did I just call you?
You called me Trevor.
Okay, I'm like, did I say the wrong name? Anyway.
Not Trevor Howard.
Not Howard, no. Anyway, only thing I want to say is, if you find somebody on LinkedIn that used to work for a company that you would like to work for, when they're paying the bills, it's really hard to talk smack about them, just to be point blank. But people that that's no longer their ride or their meal ticket, I rather talk to them as well, because you'll get a different perspective. So it's the only thing I would like to add to all of that. Foster, next question.
You know, that's a good point, because I've been pushing that here recently. Guys, wouldn't you want to get the straight dope, as we say in my neighborhood, on what you're looking at? If somebody doesn't work for that company anymore, it's not a given that they're going to hate and they're going to tell you all the hate mail. You know, they're going to tell you things that they probably wouldn't tell you when they worked there, because a lot of times when we have an informational interview with somebody and they end up getting hired at that company, a lot of companies have a referral bonus, do they not? You guys ever heard of that before? So you can get money if you refer people in to get hired into the company. So I want to get you to come to work here. If I work here, I want to get you to come to work here, because hey, I might get a little stipend of that, you know. So just something to think about. Another thing I want to add, guys, I am a relationship person. That is my number one R word, is relationship. When we are in job search, we have opportunity, we have time. It doesn't seem like it, sometimes we're so busy, but we have time to build relationships. So if you see a company, well, Don and I both worked at IBM. I'll use our old company as an example, Don. If you see somebody at IBM that looks like they're probably closer than that work in that very department that you're interested in going to work for, look and see of the popular people that you're connected with, that you have a relationship with. Ask them. Look on their LinkedIn to see if they're connected with that person. If they are, ask them, hey, do you know this person? How well you know this person? If they do, then they might do an introduction to you, and you can connect with that person. And if you have that common relationship with that person's probably a little bit more likely to want to meet with you. We can do it on Zoom, you know, because you might be in New York. I'm not just picking on your folks, Marty. You might be in New York, and the job that you are looking to get at IBM might be in Minneapolis. So you can do it on Zoom. You can always use this thing. You know, this thing runs the United States, I think. And guys, it's a lot easier for people if they know you, if they have a connection. We're just people. We're gonna take the time to help our friends, somebody that we have a relationship with. Is that making any sense? It sounds good to me. You guys are shaking your head. I'm doing okay. All right. That's informational interviewing, guys. You want to get some information on where you're going. You want to get some information not only on the company, because if you're going to work for a big IBM or something, you want to know a lot about where you're going to work, what it's like in that department, what is being expected. A lot of times, guys, your hiring manager will be out of this very network that you're part of. So that's another connection point. I'm a relationship guy. I'm going to remind you guys of that all day long. That word, I'm going to throw it at you quite a bit. So that is, John, did you have anything that you wanted to?
Well, there's one point that hasn't been covered yet.
Go.
On an informational interview, what is one thing you should never leave out?
Always pay for the meal if you pay for the barbecue.
Sorry, say it again, Pete?
Pete,
Always offer to help that person again. I mean, once they've given you all the information, how can you help them?
Right. And the start of the conversation should be very positive. I really appreciate your taking the time to sit with me. You know, it means a lot, and I really appreciate that, and I want to be able to return that if there's any way I can be of assistance to you. You know, that's the capital R in relationship, is
Right.
affirmation and positivity. You know, just like, okay, and then sit down and then start firing questions at them or something. But you should have Pete covered it, you should have your questions researched and written down, and you know, so that you maximize the time. And if you commit to staying, you know, doing it for 30 minutes, don't go past 30 minutes. even if you don't get all your questions answered.
Keep it concise as you can, huh?
It shows respect.
Yeah, for those people's time. A lot of people, most people have families, and you know, when they're offering your time outside of work, that's their family time, guys. So you want to respect that. I agree with that, John. Thank you. Absolutely. It is.
Okay, how's that? All right.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to add is, if you've reached out to me and I've made the connection for you, you've had that informational interview, please take a moment to get back to me and let me know that the person I connected you was indeed helpful, they were willing to meet with you and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Because if they're not willing to meet with you, or they blow you off or whatever, I want to know that, so I don't introduce that person to anybody else in my network, because obviously they're not willing to cooperate. So give us feedback as well. Hey, you know, I did meet with Foster, he was very helpful, thank you very much. That way I know that next time I have somebody in that same need, I can count on Foster to help them as well. So by all means, give us the feedback too if we made the introduction for you. If I can jump on one more thing. Somebody mentioned earlier, somebody mentioned Glassdoor earlier. Stay away from Glassdoor in terms of this kind of topic. Most of the reviews you're going to see on Glassdoor are people who are going to be upset with that company. So take that with a grain of salt, especially if you're seeing the same. Now, if you start seeing the same topic over and over and over again, okay, then maybe there's some smoke behind that. So, but otherwise, stay away from Glassdoor in terms of the reviews. Again, not many of us get online Glassdoor to praise a company. Most people are doing it because they have an axe to grind for whatever reason. So keep that in mind when you go on Glassdoor and look at their reviews.
Keep going. I'll mention it.
If I may, the question was, the interview's going long, you agreed to 15 minutes. At the 15-minute mark, Michael said he brought up the fact that it was 15 minutes, and the person kept right on talking and everything. To me, that's perfectly fine. You were respectful of the 15 minutes, their choice now to continue, and obviously they were enjoying the conversation with you, so I'd say that's fine. If you want to remind them again at the 30-minute mark or whatever, that's great. But as far as you gave them the opportunity to say, okay, thank you very much, and back out, but obviously they felt comfortable and they wanted to continue the conversation, or they didn't go back to work. They didn't care about going back to work. So either way, it's a win-win for you, so that works.
Well, Gary Stillman has something he'd like to add.
One thing that I found very beneficial for informational interviewing is to go on the computer, pick an article about his industry or possibly even his company, and provide that very early in the conversation. It forms that bond real well.
Oh, that sounds relationship-ish there.
It also sounds like research.
For folks that may have just joined us, what we're talking about, guys, are all aspects of interviewing. The first topic that we're talking about is informational interview. We have established what that is, but now we're talking a little bit about how we conduct an informational interview. How do we extract information about this company that we're interested in going to work for, about maybe the whole gamut, maybe a certain area of expertise that you have singled out a person that you want to talk to. It doesn't have to be about a job. It could be information about what it is that you do that will be helpful for us.
Or what you would like to do.
Or what you would like, absolutely, what you would like to do.
If you're in transition, yeah.
Well,
Definitely in transition. Yeah, go Pete.
Well, keep it in perspective too. I mean, the connection we hook you up with may not work in the department you're looking to get into. So keep that in mind as well. I mean, the IT operation may run as smoothly as whatever. You're looking to get county, and that may be a mess over there. So you just don't know. So keep the questions, general about the company and everything. Do they walk the walk? Do they talk the talk? And, keep in mind that the person you're talking to may not work in that department, not be able to answer every question about what it's like in accounting when they're working in IT. So keep everything in perspective.
I want to just kind of elaborate a little bit about what I was talking about earlier. Think about what an informational.
No, it's got you.
What information it is now. Yeah, it is. Can I see that one real
Yeah,
quick?
try this.
Mic check. There we go. All right. So think about what an informational interview is. What are you doing? Most of the time, it's going to be like Foster, you were saying on Zoom, right? Nine times out of 10 nowadays, it's going to be on Zoom. So think about that for a second. What if you simply just recorded that interview? Okay. What is it? What is an informational interview? It's essentially what do we do on our show? Yeah, but we interview people. And we ask them all about what they're doing. Like, think about that for a second. So, I've got an intro for you. Welcome to the Job Seeker Podcast, where we reverse engineer the job search. And before I apply, you're going to have to tell me why. Right? And so all you want to do is now go out, and you have now something that is of value to ask for people's time. Hey, I want to feature your experience. I want to feature you on my show, my podcast. I'd love to get to know about you and your experience and the company and the culture because I'm interested. And before I apply, you're going to have to tell me why. All right? And so then you go out, and people will actually want to come and talk to you. Most people have never been featured on a podcast. Right? Most people have never had that happen, so they're actually excited about that. It's looked at as a positive, right? Just like if someone said, hey, I want to feature you in my book, right? I want to feature you. So they get excited about it. They come on. You record it on Zoom. It's not to say that you have to release it. Maybe you never even release it, but you record it, and you ask them questions. You do an interview. That's exactly what a podcast interview is. You're just asking them questions about what they do, how they got there, what made them so successful, what it's like to work in the company, in the organization, and the fit, and the culture, and all those same things. And now you've got this recording. So then what do? Okay, you got this recording, and you can chop it up, okay? And you can create content. And that content, as you're posting it, is now you can tag the company, you can tag that person that you just interviewed, and it's a positive way of featuring that company, right? It's a positive way to do it. And so I think it's, if you're going to do it anyways, like think about it. If you're going to do information interviews, might as well get a content strategy out that's going to market you and your company and your expertise and their expertise and feature them in a positive light. The conversations are happening anyways. You might as well capture it and leverage it. That's all I'm saying, in a positive way. So I thought I would elaborate on that.
Good, definitely positive. I want to put that positive spin on it. Guys, here's what I'm thinking as we're talking about this. When you turn on the TV, guys, you turn on the news, is there ever any good news? Just think about that. So it's showing us a snapshot of the world that we live in, right? And ever since 2020, 2019, it hasn't been too positive a picture. So if you're going to go to work in this world, don't you think you want to know as much as you can about what you're plugging yourself into or what you're thinking about plugging yourself into? So find out about what's going on in the areas that you're trying to go. That's all the informational interview. It's not all it's about, but it's a give-take. You are part of a gigantic, that's an understatement for our network. Our network is global now. And, you can tell that person that you're interviewing with that, thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate you sitting down, Don. Don, thank you for putting us together kind of thing. But you know what? I'm part of a large network. If you ever need anything, if you ever need to hire anybody or anything, let me know. I'll be glad to try to help you. I'll be glad to try to get you your opportunity for a job out to my fellow networkers, because this is a pay it forward kind of network. We know that the book says you will reap what you sow. Well, if that's the case, then I'm going to sow as much positivity as I can. So something to think about, guys, as we're moving forward. The network really is about helping others, and then that will just kind of mysteriously come back to you. It's funny how that is, but that is the way that it is. Any other comments on informational interviewing? Okay, we're doing pretty good. We're moving along. I'm going to pick on. You got one?
Yeah, I got one.
Briefly.
Follow up.
Yeah. Oh,
Like, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. The money's in the follow up, y'all. And if you're
That's a
not
good
following
point.
up, shame on you. And how are you following up? What's your strategy for following up? How are you doing it in a way that's going to stand out? Everything that I do and everything that I talk about is outside the box, and it will always be about standing out. Because right now you're just this piece of paper with black and white text sitting in an ATS somewhere.
Trevor, give us a brief on the video interviewing and the video messages that we talk about on the show so much.
Can I call time out?
Sure.
Talking about informational interviewing.
Yes.
How do you follow up on an informational interview? Is what I'm-
Yeah, follow up after the interview.
Informational interview is not really.
No, I know, but you still need to follow up.
That's true.
This is relationship building, so why would you not? Why wouldn't you say after the interview, send them an email with a video in it saying, hey, Pete, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciated the conversation. It was amazing learning about Toyota and all the great things about the company. Actually, I'm really interested in applying there. There was actually this position, rec number 54618, and I would love if you, thought I would be a good fit. I'd love an introduction to anybody you think I could be, follow up.
That's what I want.
Yeah, follow up.
That's it.
Because if you don't follow up, it was just a conversation
Yeah,
that's going to
take
die.
her kind of thing, yeah.
It's just a conversation that's going to die. So yeah, follow up and do it in a way that's going to stand out. That's going to get their attention. That's going to make you more valuable. So that's what I would say.
I'm glad Trevor brought that up. Thank you very much. That is very important. Very important, guys. So a lot of you probably heard Trevor, Mark, and I talking about video interviews. There's two platforms. There's a BombBomb, I almost said Boom Boom. There is a company called BombBomb that you guys should really go check out. Is it bombbomb.com?
Yeah, BOMB.com.
Yeah, go check it out. There's another one called Loom. Guys, once you check this out, you can do a video, and you can send that video to people that you just talked to. It really kind of carries a neat, I don't know how to describe it. Foster's not the youngest guy in the world. I wonder if he's up to date on technology. Well, if all of a sudden, if I'm sending you a video message, hey, Foster might be up to date on a whole bunch of things that I don't know anything about. It has a positive twist. It really does. And I like that kind of thing because I'm a relationship kind of person anyway. I want to do something that's going to get your attention. I agree with Trevor. You don't want to let that conversation just dissipate. You have built or you have created an opportunity to build a relationship. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. So here's where I want to start. I'm going to pick on Sharon now. So you guys might as well just give Sharon the mic. We're going to go into, guys, here's the situation. We got an interview with the company that we applied for. We think we want this job at this point, guys. Every job in corporate America is not for us. We need to dig into that thing and find out what it's about, how the management is, all of that sort of thing is what we need to find out, because this may not be a job. It may look good on paper, but this may not be a job that I want to go to work for. It may be something that is not conducive to the time that I spend with my family. Something to think about. So, Sharon, you have interviewed multiples of people, and Sharon and I have been friends a long time. And so my question would be, when you walk into an interview, you say, Sharon, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are they going with that? If you ask that question, where are you going with that? What do you want to hear?
Is it on? Okay.
It's on. We got you.
Well, I think It depends on who it is you're talking to, okay? So if you're talking to a recruiter, right, or you're talking to someone in an informational interview, that may be a little bit different than if you're interviewing for a specific job, okay? So if you're interviewing in an informational interview or with a recruiter or somebody that it's not a specific job, they really don't want to know every single detail, okay? But typically what I like to hear is I like the story. So I'm a recruiter, so I really like the story. I like the, you know, I went to school at such and such, right? Because there's an opportunity to make some kind of a connection. Exactly, exactly. And step them through a little bit about your career and why you made some of the moves that you did. If you're sitting in an interview and it's about a specific job, okay? So we've got the job description, maybe the night before, you looked it over, maybe you've been represented by a recruiter. I think some of the or two of the best words that you can use when you're in an interview like that are based on, okay? So based on what Pete told me about this job, it sounds like the three main things that you're concerned about are, I'm an accountant, so, all right, so a problem with your inventory, you're concerned about your ERP system, and you've got a lot of turnover. So why don't I step you through the times during my career when I've dealt with those three things, and if it has me skipping over anything, then we can come back and talk about that. Because when you're sitting in front of a hiring manager, that's what they want to know. They might, you know, it might be good to know that you went to Baylor and they went to Baylor or wherever it was, but they really, really, really want to know why are you a good fit for this job? You know, if I had all this experience with services and not inventory, and I go on and on and on about that, it really doesn't, I'm not selling myself, right? So whether it's based on the job description, it appears that these things are what you're looking for, or based on the interview that I had with the HR professional, it sounds like these things, because that's what they want to know. They don't, I would just encourage you not to waste your time on touting some of those things that you did that might not be relevant. So does that answer your question?
And you brought that up. Relevance is probably my number 2 R word. Relationship and relevance. Guys, when we go talk to somebody, it's great that you're from McGregor, Texas, Foster, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's get to the point. And a lot of times, the interviewers won't tell you this, but it will get them on track, because a lot of interviewers are not interviewers. They do a certain thing at the company, and sometimes, and I've seen this 190 million times, well, maybe not that many, but you know what? A lot of those people didn't even know they're going to be interviewing anybody, or even part of it. And they were thrown under the bus by their manager and says, okay, Pete, you do this type of thing, and I want you to be in on this interview. And you're like, okay. So, guys, I know the mic's going to go to Pete next. I love having Pete. Pete is one of our leaders in the network, and you guys understand why now. Pete is a VP of operations. So Pete has been one of those people that has interviewed a lot of people, and Pete has a unique perspective on the way that he looks at things. So go, Pete. I know you want to talk about this stuff.
I want to talk about my favorite R word, retired.
Oh, yeah, that's my third one.
Don't forget that word. It's very important to me.
No
anyway.
doubt.
No, I am fully on board with what Sharon was saying. And if you don't know those things ahead of time, I ask the question, tell me what keeps you up at night. What is hurting your department right now? What is hurting your company? So, and let me know how I can address those. That way I know how to focus my response to you in all the areas where you need my help. I'm here for a reason. You're trying to fill this position for a reason, whether it's a new position or somebody left. So I want to know what's keeping you up at night. What are the issues you guys are having right now that I can help solve for you right now, so I can address that in my response to you. That's a primary thing I'm going to ask you when I meet with you, is tell me what it is you want me to fill. And then the secondary question I'm going to ask you is, if this is a position that I'm filling for somebody who just left, what did they do great and what did they not do so great that I can also address in my response to you, so I know that I'm hitting all the hot buttons that you're trying to fill with this position. So that would be my approach right away when I sit down, is trying to frame my responses towards your needs, because ultimately that's what you're trying to get out of me, is how can I fill the needs that you have.
Another question that's good to ask is, what is not on the job description, right? You know, because you got this super long job description that typically, yeah, they're generic and they weren't written, you know, by the actual hiring manager. So asking them like, hey, you know, is there anything that's not on this job description that you really need to be taken care of in the next 30, 60, 90 days? Like, what's not on here? And that way you can really get that pain point, as Pete was talking about, because ultimately you're there to solve a company's problem and put out some kind of fires, whatever fires they're going through, right? And so figuring that out early will help you to really talk about it a little bit more and showcase that you are the right person to put out those fires.
That is always, guys, and I do mean always, that is always a question that needs to be asked. Because the intangible part of that job is probably not okay with HR that we put it on the job posting.
Right.
And to that point exactly, is it also gives you an opportunity that sometimes what's on the job description is not exactly what you want to do.
Oh, my goodness, that's
And,
true.
you know, you can have this long, beautiful list, but if you are the underdog or you're the newbie and for 6 months you're going to be pushing paper, and that's the last thing you want to do, you need to know that.
That's a great point.
You do, that's a good point.
Yep.
Guys, I'm excited that Mez joined us. Mez is an example of this network, guys, and what I mean by that is she showed up as a job seeker. She is, right down there on the end is Mez. She showed up and she got excited about what she was seeing. She got the spirit of what we're doing. Mez is an engineer. She worked in the oil and gas industry for about 10 years, I think it was, Jen. She's a biochemical engineer. Now, do you guys think a biochemical engineer when you see this girl?
Her degrees have degrees.
Her degrees have degrees.
I'm way too overeducated.
That's true.
Not even gonna lie, but I actually did a career transition, so oil and gas 10 years, and then through this network, changed to IT project management in the risk management industry. So
Yeah.
it's possible to do, and
It
honestly,
is.
it's a good opportunity in this economy right now because of all the layoffs that we're seeing, because of all the depressing news. If you are one of those people that got laid off in these massive layoffs, you have the opportunity now to transition if you want to. You know, if you always wanted to be a chef, or if you always wanted to be educated in a certain way. There are so many grants and stuff that you don't even think about, because automatically you want that paycheck back. You always want that cash flow, but take a minute to breathe, not too long. Take a second, breathe, yeah. It's like, oh my God, I need to pay the bills. It's like, yes, you do, but the lights are still on. Calm down, you're not bleeding, hopefully, and just see if it's really what you want to do. If you've been in a certain industry your whole life and you're like, I don't like what I was doing. So that's my little spiel right there.
That's good. I'm glad you got the mic, because this next question is perfect for you.
Okay. Sorry.
I like to ask this question when I am interviewing folks. Yes, I still interview folks. So what makes you a good fit for this job that I'm not going to see in any other candidate?
Normally, it's personality and a good fit with your team. If you have a dynamic team, I bring a different perspective. Point blank. I'm not I mean, you know me, Foster,
Well,
and
I know
everybody
you.
here. Yeah.
You guys don't know Mez.
No, I can't be quiet at all. but I will get my hands dirty. I will go from, I used to say all the time, I go from steel toes to stilettos. I can do whatever you need to do.
Okay.
And I will definitely,
Yeah, that's a mic drop.
and I'm making myself a pair of steel toe stilettos. That's still on my bucket list. Oh, they have them out there. Google it. It's really fun.
Yeah, remember she was in oil and gas, guys, for 10 years.
So I don't mind doing the little stuff, and I think that's a good point. I don't mind helping where I need to be, where I'm needed. The last thing you want me do is sitting idle. I'm a squirrel on crack. The last thing you want me do is sitting still. Do not let me sit still. I will start rearranging furniture. I will start just don't let me do that. But that's what I bring to the table. That's my personality. If it's not your personality, don't fake it, because recruiters can definitely tell if you are
They can,
faking it.
yep.
Yeah, that's basically what I bring to the table.
We have a
Excellent.
question in the back.
No, not a question, just a comment. So
I'm nervous about this one.
Excellent.
So what you're talking about here is your attitude,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Attitude is everything. Any company that's worth its
Salt.
salt, thank you, is going to hire for attitude because people can be trained.
Oh, yeah.
So what you were just talking about is, I'm not a quitter. I like to get my hands dirty. I'm a results-oriented
Yes.
person. So you're talking about your attitude.
Right.
And that's key. And the other thing is, only once in this discussion recently has the word problem been used. I was trained when you're interviewing, never use the word, what problems are you trying to solve? Use the word needs. Trevor used the word needs quite a bit, and the other one was challenges. And opportunities.
Yeah.
Words are important. So that's
Yes.
why, most of us have iPads or phones where, we can do a selfie video and record yourself talking and then play it back and learn from that and listen to what words you're using and, get a family member or somebody in your network to interview you, record the interview, then go review it to see how your body language is, what words you're using, your tone of voice, how you're presenting yourself. It's very therapeutic.
Video interview, I think that's what John's talking about, But video interview yourself, guys. Have one of the kids set up the phone. The kids know how to use the smartphones a whole lot better than we do. And so video yourself. See what your body language looks like when you're talking about specific things. Now, I want to remind you guys that we have in the network what is called the PIT crew, Practice Interview Team.
I'm going to put this.
And John, I think John's about to put it up on the not so big screen, but we got two of them. So we have people that have volunteered, people like Pete, people like Sharon, who have in their careers done a whole lot of interviewing. And these are the people that volunteer to be on these teams, and they're tremendous. Practice Interview Team.
Yeah,
There it is.
the slide's up.
The slide
Could we
is
talk
up.
talk about that a little, since Mark hasn't been able to Mark McDonald hasn't been with us for a while?
Right. So, guys, the Practice Interview Team conducts itself on Wednesdays. I think more than just Wednesdays now, because since people can join on Zoom.
It's on the screen up there.
Okay.
Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m., Wednesdays at 1 p.m., and Thursdays at 3 p.m.
Yeah, Gary Stillman's on that team as well.
Gary, do you have any input on that, since you're part of it? Is there anything that you think job seekers would need to know or should hear about the Practice Interview Team?
Definitely should hear about it. It's been very beneficial for the people that take advantage of it.
There have been a lot of landings, there really has.
I find that a lot of people are very hesitant to do it, but the main thing is develop more and more confidence as you're going along. So if you want to interview a second time or a third time, and when we interview people, at the end of the session, they're given a tape of the session to get rid of any body tics or anything that might be disadvantageous at that time. But the main thing is it says there, send in a resume and a job description,
And then what now, or at least temporarily, Ron Layton is setting up these, which could occur on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays. Just whenever they're able to put a team together to interview that particular person.
Awesome.
And the one thing that is surprising is we're getting a lot of people interviewing that don't live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
That's important.
Interview from all over the United States.
Right. With our Zoom capacity, guys, you folks out in Phoenix, because I know you guys are there, and Marty's group in New York. Probably some of Fred's folks in Chicago are listening as well. Hey, Polly. And you know what? Guys, on Zoom, we can get this done. So check in with the pit crew. All that information is what's key for you guys to tune in to whatever it is you need to do, talk to whoever it is you need to talk to set that up. Gary said something real important. You might have an upcoming interview already set, and you got a job description, obviously, behind what you applied for. So that might be, and it is the time at that point to do some practice interviewing. You might want to do more than one. Just throwing that out there. Yes, sir, Don.
All right, a really nice source of volunteering. In case anybody knows, there's elections coming up. And just in Denton County, we need 1,900 volunteers.
19, wow.
1,900 volunteers, 173 polling locations. But people like the people on the Louisville Chamber of Commerce, the county judge, they won't have a lot of time to help you until after the election. But you can bet the county judge knows every large employer in Denton County, the largest.
Oh, that's a good point. Guys, I know you can't hear Don because he doesn't have a microphone right down there, but what he said is right now is a really, really good time to volunteer to help the elections. Think of the people that you will meet during the elections. The county officials know a whole lot of people in companies probably too, don't they? So, opportunity to network, opportunity to build those relationships. Thanks, Don. That was really good. Something to think about.
Since you brought that up about the election thing, there's volunteering. Brandon suggests that I get on camera when I'm talking. Anyway, when you're volunteering, like Operation Christmas Child is in effect now, and they have a center over in Capel, which through the rest of this year, they will be collecting all the shoe boxes that churches and organizations put together, and they have a whole system over there where you can volunteer to pack those shoe boxes to go to the 105 countries. It's cutting out again. Okay. 105 countries that these boxes go to, and you're going to meet a lot of people, and you're going to get into a casual conversation, and those people know people in their network, and therefore you will be able to build your network.
That's right.
I mean, that's it. The same thing with, what's the organization? There's 8 Days of Hope. There's Samaritan's Purse.
Yes.
Does a whole bunch of stuff in the places where there's been natural disasters to help people get back in their homes and stuff. You build relationships when you're working alongside people.
That's right.
And it keeps you busy, yeah.
We don't seem to run out of natural disasters around the United States, do we?
Well, another thing about volunteering is you're building relationship around commonality, right? Like you instantly have a connection because of whatever the group is that you're volunteering at. And that commonality piece is super, super important. It connects you. Like I'll give you an example. So like I ride a Harley Davidson. When you see somebody else riding a Harley Davidson, you don't even know who they are. I don't know this person, but there's like an instant kind of like respect. Like we're a clique. You know what I mean? You ride a Harley, I ride a Harley. I don't know you, but there's that commonality. Cowboy fans. Hey, let's go,
Yeah.
Cowboys. But I'm just saying, like, there's this
Go
instant,
Steelers.
Stars.
like an instant commonality. There's a bond, right?
That's a good point, Trevor, yeah.
And, find your tribe. You know, find your tribe and go build relationships with your tribe so that you can really, like, they'll help you. You know what I'm saying? Those people will really help you. And volunteering around a common interest is really key. So I love that somebody brought that up.
I'm glad you brought up that whole line of thinking, because when I walk into an office, when I was interviewing, I walk into an office and I see what's decorated in that office. I walk into Sharon's office, I'm going to see a plaque for the Dallas Stars up there, maybe even, probably even 2 of them. Then you know what? I wonder if this lady likes the Dallas Stars. It's looking like she does. Then, you know, hey, if I have had a Dallas Stars experience, if I know somebody on the Dallas Stars, I'm coming together.
You're holding out on me?
I'm coming. See what I mean? You know I do. But you see what I mean, guys? We're building these relationships. In an interview, guys, another thing I want to say is try to have it as conversational as you can. Don't let it be question and answer. Get out there and have a conversation. Force some of the people that are interviewing you to have a conversation. Let it be conversational, because it's more a little bit closer to the heart. You know, it takes a little bit of a closer relationship to have that conversation. That excitement is there about you and yourself and what you're doing. Go, Pete.
Just want to go ahead.
They're fighting over it. This is good, you guys. I'm enjoying this.
Well, I guess what I was trying to follow up on some, you know, that first question that you asked, right? Which was, when you go in and someone says, you know, what makes you different, right? What makes you different, right?
Why should I hire you? Yeah.
Or why should I hire you? I think the way Mez answered it is great, but I think something that you could do to make it a little bit different, because we can all talk about ourselves, but if you said to someone, you know what, my last supervisor in my review said I was the most dependable employee they ever had, okay? Or my last manager told me that I was the most accurate, or I had the best attitude, okay? It's one thing when you tell someone your own opinion of yourself. It's another to tell someone what your supervisor
What somebody
said,
else said, especially
okay?
your supervisor.
It gives that extra layer of credibility, if you will, right? So think about some of those things. If you have reviews that you've kept from prior supervisors, go through that, because I think sometimes that helps to boost our confidence, right? Especially if we've been laid off or something like that, to be reminded, right? I am not someone that's been laid off. That's just a circumstance, right? Who I am as an employee is I am loyal, and I am dependable, and I am punctual, and I am accurate, and I have a great attitude, and there are other people that think that way of me, okay? So
Project that, yeah.
I think you can answer it either way, but and just like if somebody asks you, you know, what are your strengths or whatever, what are your weaknesses, okay? Well, you know what, in my last review, right, my supervisor said this about me. So it's really not your opinion, it's someone else's opinion. Does that make sense? It adds a layer of credibility to it. And, you know, when someone asks a weakness question too, they're really not asking for you to say, well, you know what, it's really hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. That's not what they're looking for. But, you know, did your supervisor say, you know what, I really would like for you to work on your Excel skills, or I really would like for you to work on, you know, I want you to start to supervise people. I really want you to work on this or that. And then if you can follow it up by saying, well, you know what, I think I'm a little bit weak in Excel, and my supervisor told me that, but you know what, ever since I got laid off, I've been taking some online courses in Excel. Then that's a mic drop, right? Then, so just think about some of those questions when you're asked, if you can frame it up in a way that it's someone else's opinion of you versus just your own, right? Because it's easy to go, well, I'm this and I'm that and I'm something else. But boy, if you, boy,
You were so good, your name tag
my
came.
man, I just, yeah,
And to add to that,
yeah,
Beating your own chest.
I am.
to add to that, ask people around you that know you, right? The people that are close to you, ask them, like, hey, what was the time where you saw me at my best? And describe to me a time that you saw me at my worst. What were the qualities? What were the things? You know, what if you had to name a quality in one word? Like, what would that be? A time when I'm at my best and my worst. So poll the community, like put it out there, and ask people. So they'll tell you, you know, what is your strength? What you may hear, oh, creativity, or outside the box thinker, or whatever that is. Like, figure out what the outside community is saying about you. What are their opinions? I love that, because we always look at ourselves way different. Most people, we're our own worst enemy, and so we have this gift that we may not even recognize. A lot of times, those gifts are lying dormant within us, and a lot of times it takes other people on the outside who see that gift.
That's true.
Who can speak that gift into you and activate that gift, because it's just lying dormant. And so you just need to get other people's opinions. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's amazing.
You guys that are online, folks that are on YouTube, if you have questions, post your questions. We will get them. Bill Richardson, our leader when it comes to YouTube, will get your question to us up here. And we really, that's what we're here to do, is answer questions and help you, guide you. You guys see how this panelist, I think you guys are starting to understand why they were chosen to be on this panel. It's in their spirit. They get into it. There are two more questions that I absolutely hate to hear in the interview. And I want to start with this one. So, Sharon, what would you say is your biggest weakness? Ooh, I hate that question.
How much time do you have?
Well,
Pete said, how much time
you know, I do think that that's something that you think about, right? Because number one, you know, prepping for an interview and thinking about some of these questions are really critical, because it's physiologically, is that a word? Okay, good.
Sounds good.
Good. Coming from the engineer. It's proven that when you get nervous, your long-term memory shuts down, okay? It shuts down. So if you haven't thought about something that you did in the past, if you haven't thought about it recently and pushed it into your short-term memory, you may freeze, okay? So thinking about some of these things that you've done in the past, and thinking about some of the things that your supervisors have said about you in the past, you just may freeze, okay? So that's part of the reason why some of this preparation is so important. But I mean, I would look back at some of those situations, some of those evaluations, and see what some of the people have said in the past are your weaknesses. And I'll tell you, 99% of people's weakness is their strength.
That's true.
Okay? If you're an accountant and you say, you know, what's your strength, man, is I am super detailed, I can reconcile things down to the penny. What's your weakness? I'm a little too detailed. Right? Like, it really
Now,
can.
yeah, now
It
that's
really can
positive
be.
spin, yeah.
So think about it. Don't go into an interview going, gosh, I hadn't thought about it. And for goodness sake, don't say, I don't have any weaknesses.
Yeah. I don't
Please don't ever say that.
Because that is your weakness, right?
That is your weakness, is that you're not self-aware, right? So think about these things. And it could be, don't make it up, right? either ask your friends, go back and look at some of these evaluations, and really consider, and it doesn't have to be a character flaw. It's just something that you're not so good at. The way that I like to ask it when I'm talking to some candidates is, you know, what, if you look at your best friend, what pours out of them that you look at them and just go, man, I wish I could do that. That just does not pour out of me, right? Not that you're jealous of them, but, right, what is it that just comes so naturally to somebody else that you're like, man, I wish I could do that? Sometimes, you know, maybe it's public speaking, right? Maybe you have a friend that could get up in front of hundreds of people, and so maybe that's a weakness of yours, or maybe it's, maybe if it's, you know, technical issue, whatever it is, but maybe look at, it's not so much what a character flaw is, it's what you may just not be the best at.
If I can add, one of the things I used to do to prepare for an interview is pretty much what I have in front of me right now. I take all the interview questions that I could find out that the people have passed to me or have mentioned, whatever, and I would write down my answers. And that's part of also what we teach during the practice interview team is the STAR system, the situation you were in, the task assigned to you, and then the results you got and all that. And write those things down. Because as Sharon was saying, when you get into the bright lights and the interview and everything, you tend to forget these things. If you've written them down and you studied them, they'll just come back to you immediately.
That's true.
And I always tell people, especially if you're interviewing for a manager job or something above, when you talk about your STAR system, your situation, your task, your action, and your results, have something strategic that you can talk about, and have something that's more, you know, in terms of rolling up your sleeves and you got it done. So have both ready for the interview, so that way you can always speak to whatever situation is put in front of you. But I always wrote down, I have all my interview questions that I could think of that are typically asked. I wrote down my answers, and then for the STAR interviews, I did the same thing. I thought about 3 or 4 situations and wrote down the answers and all that, so that I can just speak to them automatically when the question was asked of me, and I didn't go through what Sharon was describing, that deer in the headlights look, like, oh, now I'm trying to recall something and I'm nervous and I can't think of anything, and it makes you look even worse. So just be prepared. Along with your research of that company, write down your questions that you think might be asked and write down your answers, and just study that material so you always have it. Not only for that interview, but most of the questions apply to every interview you go on. So always have that prepared and ready to go.
John has input.
Well, yeah, Sharon brought up a key thing about when you're asked about what are your weaknesses, and she brought up detail-oriented. And I am detail-oriented.
Yes.
But
And I'm not.
But, so,
Yeah.
and then turning it into a strength is key, because when I'm asked that question, I say, well, I get really micro-focused on detail-oriented, and what I've learned to do is to train myself to back up and look at the bigger picture, because that's important to understand the context of what I'm addressing and what it. So I'm telling them that detailing is probably, it can get in my way, but I've trained myself to turn that around and take the time to back up and look at the bigger picture. Instead of microscope all the time, I can go to a telescope view.
Oh, I like that one. I'm a NASA guy.
You
Yeah,
get into
you
the
are.
weeds. You get into the weeds really quickly. It's very easy to do that. To that point, one more thing was, gee, squirrel moment. What was I going to say? Squirrel.
That comes with age.
I'm a hopeless cause at this point.
I like to pick on her. She's always
that's
the
what I was
baby of the
going
group.
to say. In an interview, to the weakness and strengths, don't give up all of your strengths all at the same time. I've shot myself in the foot, no pun intended, before, where I actually I convinced them they didn't need to hire a position. I've done that. I've like, oh, well, didn't you think you could rearrange this, and why couldn't you do it this way, and blah, blah, blah. So giving up too much good stuff sometimes is not a good thing either. Or convincing them that you need to take over a couple different positions. Like I notice I have you have these positions open. Let me pitch this idea to you. And then one, you can pitch a higher salary. Always going for that. Better benefits, PTO, or whatever you want to do. But sometimes if you go and see there's similar jobs that, I'm like, wait a minute, I did this in the past. Would you consider doing this? So you take over 2 roles, get more money, more benefits, blah, blah, blah. But yeah,
That's now that one. I'm glad she brought that up because that's a judgment call right there. Because you want to talk about and you want to focus on what that pain is. So you determine what that pain is, and that's what you want to focus on because that's what's going to get you in that door if you want to get in that door. Remember, this is a two-way street, guys. Before I get to my last, this last question is kind of anyway. But remember, it's a two-way street. I like to ask, okay, this position is open. Is this position open, Mr. Interviewer man, lady? Is this position open because somebody's been in this position before and they've been dislocated from that position? Or is it a new position? Now, if they say it's a new position, then you want to talk about, okay, why, Mr. Interviewer, was this position created? Dig in a little bit because it's a two-way street, right? Yeah. Okay, now, I got you going on that tangent. Let me throw this last ugly question at you. We tighten up, but we don't have to. And I think this panel is going to make this easier for us. What is the reason for you leaving your last company?
I want to take that.
I do it.
Okay, this is the hardest question you're going to ask. You're going to answer, and you're going to answer it every single time that you interview, okay? There is never a time that I'm going to encourage you to write down something verbatim, but I want every one of you to get out a piece of paper. Okay? Okay. Get a piece of paper.
Pause for effect. Pause for paper.
Pause for effect. Okay. Let's say, let's just take, for example, that you worked at a company and you got laid off and you got a small severance. Okay? That's what's happening a lot right now. Okay? All right. So, Sharon, why are you looking for a job, or what happened in your last job, or whatever it is? Well, I'm glad that you asked me that question because I absolutely loved working at XYZ company.
IBM.
I'm glad you asked because I absolutely loved working there. Now, we don't want you to lie, so if you didn't love working there, but maybe you loved the people, okay? Maybe you loved your job. Maybe you loved your colleagues, okay? So I'm not suggesting that you lie, but there is something about that job that you loved, okay? So hopefully it's, I'm glad you asked because I absolutely loved, there you go. I love the culture.
AT&T, you hear
I
this?
love the culture. Okay, whatever it is. I'm glad that you asked because I absolutely loved working for XYZ company. While I was there, I was able to accomplish Let's don't go on for an hour, okay? But bring out a couple of things that you did, okay? But I don't know if you heard or not, but last month there was a pretty big layoff, and unfortunately I was caught up in that layoff. But what I appreciate is that they rewarded me with a severance.
Yeah.
Okay? Are you writing? Okay? What I especially appreciate was that my company rewarded me with a severance based on my contributions that I made while I was there, and that severance is allowing me to be selective. Okay? Really what they want to know is, are you a big fat problem, and are you coming into their company and gonna be a big fat problem? Okay? if you answer it that way, they're going to be nodding their head. You've just told them, oh my gosh, I just asked them this really hard question, and the first thing they say is that I'm glad you asked me that question because you love working there. Okay, well, phew. Now we know we don't have a disgruntled employee, right? They're able to tell me what it is that they did. They got a severance, so that must mean that they're not a big fat problem. And if you haven't had a job in a month or 2 or even 3, that if you tell them that that severance is allowing you to be selective, then it shows that there's no desperation. Okay? Those are, I'm telling you, this is my 23rd year that I've been doing that. And there literally is no better way to answer that question. We call it a one and done. Okay? There is no other question that they can ask you. Right? Well, did you like? Well, no, she told me that she liked. Well, did she get a severance? Well, no, she got a severance. What did she? Oh, well, what happened at the? Oh, it was a big layoff. There's nothing left. It's a one and done. Now, if that isn't exactly your situation, I work with a lot of people, high-level accounting and finance folks that maybe a private equity firm came in and they were released. Maybe they didn't get a severance, right? Or they were just released and they don't know. Well, I'm still glad you asked me that question because I loved the culture there. I was there for 7 years and I loved the culture there for 6 years. But last year, a private equity firm came in and took over the company, and it significantly changed the culture. They replaced the CEO and they replaced the COO, and those C-level executives wanted to bring in their own person. And as the CFO, they brought in their own person, and I find myself out looking for my next opportunity. And typically in that situation, but what I appreciate is they rewarded my contributions with a severance, and that's allowing me to be selected.
Can I?
Before
add-
Pete goes, let me jump in real quick. I'm going to be real quick. I'm going to be brief. Yeah, no, I will be. So guys, John's already cut me out. I'm done. So I love what you said. It's very true. One of my best buddies right now is a hatchet man. That's what we call them. These private equity people that come in and get rid of everybody. Anyway, so guys, when that question is asked, I like to ask a question. Sharon's already answered it the way that her answer is almost perfect. But a lot of times when people get laid off, it were smaller companies, that kind of thing, then my question that I ask is, how many people got laid off? And what I'm looking for is, were you the only person got laid off? You're kind of digging around, you're trying to find that information. What really happened? Because, you know, if I want to date Sharon, I'm going to tell her the best stuff about me. But if I'm trying to get a job, I'm going to tell Sharon the best stuff about me. I'm not going to say I was the only one that got laid off. Oh, my department of 2 people, we got sliced. Just saying. Okay, go, Pete.
No, I was going to say to Sharon's point, I mean, and by the way, I love the answer. I actually did write it down. So when I do work with people, I can bring that up as well. Is if you're going to mention that you love the culture, be ready for the question back at you. Tell me what you loved about that culture. So make sure. Well, and then we can understand why Trevor was released. But no, but seriously, be ready to describe that culture, what it is you loved about it. And if it was just a benefit, that's great. But yeah, be ready to describe whatever that culture was that you absolutely loved. Because if I'm interviewing you and you gave me that answer, that's going to be my follow-up. Because I want to see if that culture you're describing fits with the culture I have right now. Because if there's a mismatch, then that's going to lead me somewhere else. So make sure you're ready to describe that culture.
I have a challenge. I love Sharon's answer in the circumstance that she...
Yeah, give him that mic.
Yeah, okay. I keep using the broken mic. I love Sharon's circumstance, and a lot of people will fit into that. But let me challenge you, and I don't know the answer to this. We've had several participants in Frisco Connect and the rural meeting on Friday mornings, some young women who've been at a position for 6 months, or it's been a temporary contract to hire or whatnot, And, you know, we're not talking mid-level management and higher, we're talking frontline type stuff. So when they get asked that question, why did you let go? How can they approach that I'm glad you asked that. I think right there, that's magic right there,
Yes.
because you're not shying away from it. You're not aggressively, you're assertively going, you're not being shunned off by it, but, you know, in the circumstances where they've had a couple of temporary positions or contract positions, or they're at the frontline level, what's some good approaches to use for that?
Well, first of all, if you say, I'm glad you asked, you have to follow it up with, because I'm glad you asked. Well, why? What? Like, what? You're glad I asked, right? You have to tell them why you're glad they asked, right? Because I loved the opportunity that I had. I loved what I was doing. There's some, even if they were, you know, a contract employee. I'm glad you asked me that question because I really loved the last assignment that I was on. I did this and I did that. But it was always designed to be a temporary assignment. And I completed the assignment and have good feedback. And that's why, you know, my assignment is complete, and that's why I'm sitting in front of you talking about this opportunity. I'm really excited about this opportunity, okay? Where it gets really dicey is when you get fired. Okay?
Right.
And it's hard for me to give you sort of a generic answer. I would work with someone very, very specifically to try and figure out exactly how to answer that question and continue to be truthful, right? I mean, because that's really, really, really important. Okay? It's very important that you're truthful. I'm not saying to lie at all, but there's got to be something about the position that you did enjoy, right? And it shows that you can be positive about just about anything.
Anything, yeah.
Right? But if somebody was fired or there was a really, really bad situation, if you want to send something in the chat, or you can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm still Sharon Luckich Adams on LinkedIn. My email address is sharon@thomasedwards.com. Send me a message. Let's get on the phone and let's knock it out.
Thank you for addressing that
Of course.
fired situation as well.
Of course.
Because
It's-
that was the
it's-
one we hadn't specifically.
It's difficult, but I would really need to talk to the person specifically about their situation so I could help them craft that answer.
Gary has a question or a comment.
Comment. We mentioned earlier about the pit crew. When you send the information in, you can make a notation that you would like to identify why you left as part of that interview. There is also some people for that specific scenario that you have, that there's people within the pit crew that will do that on a one-to-one basis. And so that you can answer that question ahead of time before you actually even have an interview. So just reach out to the pit crew here in this market. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gary.
Awesome. There's one more thing I want to bring up. It's not another question. But guys, all of these answers that we have brought up, it is very important, guys, to project. And what I mean, I'm getting a little psychological. It's probably Sharon's fault. But, guys, this is big with me, and I know I'm not the only one. Look at me. Maintain eye contact with me.
Don't be creepy, though.
Don't be creepy.
Do not be creepy.
Well, that's a worry that she, obviously I don't have that worry, but she does. Yeah. But maintain eye contact. Guys, when we're telling something that means a lot to us, when we're telling the truth, we will be more than glad to maintain eye contact with John, you know. if you are kind of looking around, it is perceived as you're trying to tell me, you're trying to think of something to tell me that you think I'm looking for. You're trying to think of the right answer that you think that would be right for me. No, no, no. I want your answer. I want to get to know you. We didn't even cover behavioral interviewing. We will do that with our next meeting with Walt Glass. But behavioral interviewing, they will be asking you of a time when you went through a certain thing, and then the behavioral interview is not all the time, most of the time, not what you say, but it's how you say it. I got a job that had been open for 13 months in my past because I was telling of some situations that I had at a previous company that the lady knew. We already had some common connections, right? The lady knew I was telling the truth on, and then later on, I'm sure she called a couple of people and said, hey, Foster said this. I interviewed Foster. He said that. Did that really happen? So, guys, you never know who knows who. That's why Trevor, me, and Mark always talking about who you know, always. And that's why. But maintain that eye contact, guys. That's very, very important. Okay. John, okay. Oh, John's telling me, Foster, shut up. It's time to let everybody go to lunch. Is there any other question that anybody has before we? Mark, would you please come up here, sir? I just want you guys to see me and Trevor's mentor, Mark Elder. He's not I'm the elder of all of them, but he's got the name Elder. So that ought to tell you who's the smartest. But Mark is our brother. He is part of the Who You Know Job Networking Show. You guys see us. We're all the time on LinkedIn. But I just wanted you guys to see Mark. Reach out to Mark. Make sure you connect with him. He is Mark Elder. You will see who you know on his LinkedIn profile. You know you got the right Mark Elder.
I think I'm the only Korean Mark Elder.
Are you the only Korean Mark Elder? You. He can say that. I can't say that. Mark Elder. There's a Mike Elder, and there's another brother Elder, too. And who am I for? Matt Elder. That's right. No, this is Mark Elder. The right Mark. Okay. Wow. Anyway, thank you, Mark. Guys, I really, really enjoyed this today because being a recruiter, I get into what I know is going to feed you guys. I know if we get the right information to you, you will go into an interview or wherever it is and project the right thing, and that is what will get you hired. That is what will get you hired above as we ask a question. What is it that you do for us that nobody else is going to do? Why should we hire you? Well, that's why.
Can I do a shameless plug here?
Do a shameless plug. Oh, yeah, I got to do one, too. I just thought about that.
Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, we have our HR group. It's on Zoom. Go to careerdfw.org. Go to the calendar section. Find our link, 10 o'clock Wednesdays, first and third Wednesdays. And guess what? There's HR people there, talent recruiters and people like that, like Sharon Lukic, who, if you want to have this conversation with them, ask other HR professionals some of the same questions we asked today. You can get a lot of feedback tomorrow from HR pros that are going to be part of our HR network. So join us tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, and the Zoom link is on careerdfw.org
Yes.
in the calendar section. And you don't have to be in HR to join us. That's very important. What better people to know as you network than HR and talent acquisition professionals? Once they land, you have a wonderful connection within these companies. So I don't care if you're a geologist, an accountant, an IT professional, join us for the HR group tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock via Zoom. Thank you.
Yeah, Pete and I'll be there, and we're going to be, I'm going to purposely make sure that we cover behavioral interviewing tomorrow. That's going to be part of our little gift. Shameless plug for Foster and Mez on Fridays at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, that's Central Standard Time. So you folks in Marty's group.
It's 11.
It's 11.
Wow.
11 and 12 Central Standard.
Wow.
Maybe the host of the show should learn the time it starts.
Wow. Now, I know that didn't even surprise you guys that I went off and did that, did it?
I think that you did.
That is why we have Mez with us. She is our hype lady. Mez lets everybody know what's going on. And myself, Mez, Dana Gingrich is our co-host every Friday at 11 o'clock Central Time. I'm not on Mountain Time anymore. Alan, that was your fault. But Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock. We're live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. We are live on Facebook. Did I say Facebook already? LinkedIn. Oh, that's the big one. Oh, my God, yeah. In a number, yeah, we're Twitter live. We are. I've never done Twitter live, but maybe you guys have. And we're also streaming radio. So we stream to other channels that stream as well. So we always get a lot of people that say, I heard you, I was driving in the car and I heard you and I want to connect with you on LinkedIn. Guys, it is called The Job Father. Guess who the Job Father is? Oh my God. And we talk about more stuff just like what we shared here. We have a guest on, you corporations. We have a job seeker spotlight. We have a job seeker on almost every week that's there to tell you, hey, I'm available to be hired right now, and this is what I do. We bring you companies aboard to tell about yourselves. You might be new to the area. You might want to market a little for your company. If there's a specific job opening at your company, you want to be present to be able to tell about that company, about that job, and who to contact about that job. So that is the first 30 minutes of the show. The second 30 minutes of the show is the Job Seeker Spotlight. And we appreciate you corporations. We had on the probably, I think Trevor and I had, and Mark, there's Mark out there, we had 2 people, and it wasn't even our intention, that we had on our show that got hired because somebody heard the show from the company. Remember that? And that is why that second section of the Job Father is there. And so, guys, once again, every Friday, 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, you folks in New York, that's going to be noon, y'all, you'll be eating. That's okay. Join us. And and remember to go to careerdfw.org if you do not see the meeting notice with the links and all that stuff to go out. We are on Restream, so we can be seen even if you're in France or Germany, and that has happened. So that's a shameless plug for that.
Is it on searchforyouinc.com?
It is not on searchforyouinc.com.
Okay.
Changes too much.
Okay.
I got to pay my IT got to do all this. So, wow, that's too much
All right.
information in it. Go.
Thank you. Well, just as a reminder, next Saturday is the end of daylight saving time. Turn your clock back so you're not late for an interview. Also, Frisco Connect will meet on Tuesday, November 15th. Again, same time, same bat station, streaming on YouTube, and that will be our last meeting for 2022. Okay, we've got some things in the works that we're working on, and we're gonna relaunch early in 2023. We'll get that information out in plenty of time for the community. Also, for you out there in the metaverse, don't say, okay.
Wow.
Okay. All right. YouTube streaming to look at past issues. Also, besides careerdfw.org, there's careerusa.org.
Yes.
And they're the same guy runs both the organizations. They're intertwined, but for people in different parts of the country, if you check careerusa.org, if you look up any of their streaming videos from the past and going forward, you want to go to YouTube and go to careerusa.org. All their playlists for their sessions are on careerusa.org on YouTube. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You did.
All right. So we're about ready to wrap it up.
It's lunch in Texas, isn't it?
Yeah. Close.
It's probably lunch everywhere all over.
Well, we
where you
appreciate your participation.
live. Yes.
And we, those of you who've joined us online, we appreciate it. Spread the word, please, what you've learned today and the information that we've shared. And God bless all of you.
Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions
Please
at all.
do.
By all means, reach out to us on LinkedIn. Always, always personalize your invitation. Let us know where you met us. That way you have a frame of reference, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
I say I'm not detail-oriented, but I want to see more of this going on in 2023. I think this added a lot of value today. I could feel it.
Amen. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.